Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another video that looks at Longshot, but mainly the synergy of Longshot. As you know, a part of the CCP, we get champions to review, and I like to make sure that I look at synergies and other aspects of the champion as well. So with the champion of Longshot, we get some lovely synergies, as we know. In particular, and on today's agenda, is going to be Domino. Now, we'll try and see if we've got enough time to do something for Rogue, but mainly this probably OP and as well Rogue in general, but not necessarily benefiting Rogue, but all female champions gain 200 critical rating and 12% increased ability accuracy. Obviously, that is incredibly important, especially with a champion like Domino, which has like immense amounts of critical damage, big yellow numbers, but also stuff when it comes to like critical bleeds and as well the incinerate damage. And that's what we're going to be testing out today, looking at whether or not this really adds anything more to the synergy already in place. And there's some good numbers and something that we're definitely going to talk about in a moment. Now, as you can see, probably OP. And I don't know if that's something that Kabam is doing, like some kind of like nod there. It's like, yeah, we know the champion's OP, but you have it in game. So thanks, I guess. So if an opponent was not struck over the duration of a stun, Domino gains 10% of a bar of power. Obviously, for most times, it's a case of like, well, you just don't hit. You do the power, you don't hit. Very difficult if you're doing the method of doing the incinerate, which for me and for a lot of players, it's a case of like, well, we're not all about the timing with the heavy attack and going like, okay, well, we've done a parry, we'll just wait and just build that power. Look, it can be helpful, and at times you will see like a big jump in the power meter and the power bar, but a lot of the other times my focus really is on doing the damage with the incinerate, especially because of the benefit with the all-female champions gain 200 critical rating and 12% increased ability accuracy. Look, that for me is more important than the latter. But if you kind of go, look, Longshot is the linchpin here. So creating a team that doesn't include Longshot and having some of these synergies, well, that's stupid, isn't it? Now, I don't think there's much in there for the Beardo and as well that the OG one. 90% chance to not lose followers when failing a prompt. That's helpful for Mojo, but look, as I said, we're focusing on Domino here. Now, I played about with a few teams. The main team that did the best performance is not actually the one you see on screen at the moment. Even though they're putting Deadpool in with a synergy team with Domino would be advantageous for the plus 10% damage against champions that aren't female or robots. So yeah, that's cool. You could see some big numbers, but it actually didn't work out quite so well, with that extra 1 second with the Massacre actually being the best one for the situation. So this was the actual team that I used to do the best performance. But before that, I just want to showcase where something similar to this went quite well. And one thing I do want to say and do reiterate before we get into this is RNG matters. Numbers always change and you can't guarantee the incinerate to always be on point. So there may be a little bit of inconsistencies with obviously things that I'm saying and points that I could make based on the analytical factor of going, hey, you can get 6,000 incinerate damage or 6,000 critical bleed damage. And then it's a case of like what you're seeing now is going to be a case that, well, it's not going to be the same thing. So the first synergy that I wanted to test out to kind of like compare off, and I did do so many variations, but this was the best on numbers, and that was doing a Heimdall synergy where you're able to get that Fury buff. You know, I felt that that could be a good kind of like trigger to say like, right, well, am I putting out a good amount of damage? And actually the fight played out relatively well. It played out how I'd hoped. Same method as I'm going to be doing largely, where a combination of doing heavy attacks. I threw kind of like SP3s here or there, trying to get critical bleed, trying to see some big yellow numbers. And by the end of it, it was a respectable finish. And the respectable finish gave me 51 hits to then take down Winter Soldier. And again, to reiterate, because there's a lot of luck with things like RNG and as well like the numbers that you see do vary from time to time, trying to say, okay, well, this could be a fluke, and actually it would be a case that if it played out the same way, I got the same kind of numbers with the other synergy, would it be the same? Could be not. But what again are the points to the synergy that I'm going to be using now with Longshot? Now, it's less to do with the factor of Domino being in there to trigger off the Longshot synergies, and it's more about Rogue. The Rogue side of things is again all about that critical rating and increase of the ability accuracy. Obviously that is important, and obviously what you're going to see from the footage that's going to start playing now is the most important thing. And again, Same principle. We're going to try and do a little bit of the incinerate damage. We're doing the heavy attack and parrying and heavy attack, and we're wanting to see some good numbers. And we do. We see the numbers very high, kind of consistent, and also this isn't suicide masteries. If you had the masteries, you may be able to kind of output some better or more increased amounts of damage. But as well, when we've gone for things like special attacks, we've seen some big yellow numbers as well, which again is like tapping into that critical rating. And at one point, even triggering off at 23,000 from the SP2. Look, it's not the most impressive amount of numbers, but let's face it, the fact is it does boil down to RNG with those numbers, and as well, you know, is it best to be outputting the debuff effects, which we're largely doing. And with time seeing, you know, it's very rare to see it drop below 3,000 when we're doing the incinerate damage, so I'm really rating that. And the impressive side of things was 34 hits in order to take down the enemy, which again is really nice compared with the other one, but obviously do bear in mind that it could be a case of RNG factor. It could be a case that that Longshot synergy has the beneficial effects that have managed to take down the enemy quicker. It's really hard to say, but it was really interesting to compare off this synergy, and as well maybe look at Longshot, not just a single type of champion to use, but also one that could be in a really nice synergy team that you could play about with and going against different content. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that has been the video. If you did enjoy it, please consider hitting the like button. Check out some other content up on the screen at the moment, and as always, I shall catch you in the next video. Bye bye for now.